Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Judge Tamika West Bernard. I'm presiding over the preliminary hearing calendar for this afternoon, December 28, 2022. I'm officially calling the state of Georgia versus James Matthew Levengood Jr. For a hearing. There are several warrant numbers. I will go through and put them on the record. Specifically warrant number 2022 WA17744. The charges.
Your video is not on.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. I apologize for that. First warrant number is 2022 WA17744, removal of a weapon from a public official. Second warrant number 2022 WA17745, criminal damage in the second degree. Warrant number 2022 WA17746 for the charge of battery. Warrant number 2022 WA17747 for the charge of simple battery. Warrant number 2022 WA17748 for the charge of simple assault. Warrant number 2022 WA17749 for the charge of obstruction of an officer. Warrant number 2022 WA17750, battery charge multiple against the same victim. Warrant number 2022 WA17751 for the charge of simple battery on a police officer. Warrant number 2022 WA17752 for the charge of simple assault. Warrant number 2022 WA17753 for the charge of obstruction of an officer. Warrant number 2022 WA17754 for the charge of obstruction of an officer. Warrant number 2022 WA17755, obstruction of an officer. Warrant number 2022 WA17756, obstruction of an officer. Warrant number 2022 WA17757, obstruction of an officer. That concludes all of the charges against Mr. Levengood. The state of Georgia is represented by ADA Cheryl Freeman. The defendant, Mr. Levengood, is represented by attorney Rogers. At this time, the state is ready to proceed forward. Please call your first witness.
Thank you. Officer Lamb, would you raise your right hand? Do you swear and affirm the testimony about to provide in the matter of state of Georgia versus James Levengood will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
You can lower your hand. Please tell us your name and how you're employed.
I'm Corporal Almatine Lamb with the Clayton County Police Department.
How long have you worked with the Clayton County Police Department?
Nearly 5.5 years.
Were you working with the Clayton County Police Department on November 18th of 2022?
Yes, I was.
On that particular day, were you dispatched to 338 Deerfield Drive in reference to a domestic disturbance?
Yes, I was.
When you arrived at that location, please tell us what you did.
Myself and FTL Williams arrived at the same time. He went to the front door to make contact. I covered the rear of the residence just to make sure. It's common that a lot of times we go to domestics, people like to run out the back door. When I made it to the back door, there was an open window, no curtain. I could see Mr. Levengood throw an object down to the ground, and I could see the living room in complete disarray. I could tell that Officer Williams made contact at the front door. At that moment, I quickly ran around to the front and to enter in the residence because I could see him standing in an aggressive posture. Immediately, as soon as I came in, I could hear more cluttering as far as stuff being thrown around. He pushed, Mr. Levengood pushed like an armoire or a dresser between us. He grabbed a filing cabinet, threw it towards Corporal Williams, and grabbed a wooden chair, threw it towards me. At this moment, he's already at that point. So we went to go ahead and try to place him under arrest with everything that I got at that moment and get control of the situation. We got into a fight trying to place Mr. Lovingood in custody. We tased him several times. We had to actually strike him a couple times. He was kicking, scratching at us, hitting towards us during the entire time while trying to place him into custody, which it took approximately 8 minutes to finally get him into custody. He still continued even once additional officers arrived on scene to assist getting him placed into a patrol vehicle. While doing that, I asked the victim, Miss Carol, his stepsister that was on scene, was it possibly due to mental health or drugs due to my training and experience? She told me that his drug of choice was methamphetamine. Due to what I observed, it was a possibility that he was on drugs at the time.
I'm going to object at this point. He's been rambling for a while. Not sure what he's responding to, so I'll say the answer at this point is not responsive.
Okay, sustain.
Oh, thank you, Judge. I'll
Sorry,
go
Ray,
ahead
did you
and
wanna
answer.
respond?
I was also, I think he was going through what happened when he got there, but I can break it up. As Officer Lamb, after speaking with Mr. Lovingood's stepsister, the statements that you indicated that she made to you, based on your training experience, did you believe that that had something to do with his actions?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And when we say, when we're speaking of the possible use of methamphetamine.
Correct.
Okay. You testified that Mr. Lovingood threw several pieces of furniture. Were you or any of the other officers struck by those items?
The filing cabinet, no. The chair pretty much hit me because I was face to face towards Mr. Lovingood, which was caught on body camera.
Did you or any of the other officers sustain any injuries as a result of Mr. Lovingood's actions?
Officer Williams sustained a minor cut on his hand. I had minor bruising on my thigh from him kicking, and we both had to do a first report of injury.
Now, one of the charges was removal of a weapon from a public official. Can you tell us what happened regarding that?
During the struggle while trying to place Mr. Lovingood in custody, he managed to retrieve Corporal Williams' taser. And you could actually hear it on camera where Officer Williams said he got my taser, and you could hear the taser was engaged.
That was going to be my next question. Did you all have on your body cameras at this time?
Yes, the entire encounter was caught on body camera.
Did Mr. Lovingood use the taser on anyone once he grabbed it?
No, he managed to not be able to get use it on Corporal Williams. He managed to retrieve it back after a brief quick struggle.
You spoke earlier that when you looked inside of the residence, you could see that the living room was in disarray. Was there any damage done to the residence by Mr. Lovingood?
Yes.
And please tell us what that damage was.
It was furniture broken. I could see that there was a vinyl player on the ground. There was some sort of wooden armoire near the front door that was damaged. It was missing a leg. There was TVs damaged, a safe damaged. Shower rod was ripped out of the wall. The house was in a doorway to the furnace also had some damage.
Who all was at the residence when you were there?
It was just his mother, Miss Lovingood, and then the stepsister who lived there as well.
Did they indicate whether or not Mr. Lovingood caused all of the damage?
Yes, the stepsister said she got woke up by Mr. Lovingood doing all the damage.
Were you able to get a statement from Mr. Lovingood's mother?
No, she was bedridden, but I was able to get it. She verbally told me about him going through the house damaging in her room, and then I got the written statement from the sister.
Was the sister able to give you an estimate of how much the damage was?
She wrote a written statement. I'm pretty sure it was close to $1,000, if not more.
Did Mr. Lovingood, did he strike his sister or his mother
No.
from this incident? Okay. You spoke earlier about Officer Williams, and I know you were there. How many other officers were there?
Initially, it was just myself and Corporal Williams. Upon us radioing, letting them know that we were in a fight with Mr. Lovingood, an additional, I pretty much say my precinct and the neighboring precinct showed up on scene. So I say about 8 to 10 officers showed up.
You spoke earlier about that you all essentially got into a fight with Mr. Lovingood. Can you describe physically what Mr. Lovingood did and to whom he did it to?
He was kicking and slapping towards me. He was kicking and slapping and scratched Officer Corporal Williams. While being escorted out, he was kicking the officers as they had to carry him out to my vehicle.
During this time, did Mr. Lovingood make any statements?
He was making statements, but they weren't making any sense.
Do you recall what any of those statements were?
I remember while trying to place him into custody, Mr. Lovingood did say, which was caught on body camera, I'm trying to help you. No, I'm not. And help me. And yelling for his mother to help him and such multiple other statements.
Okay. Were you all eventually able to get Mr. Lovingood into a patrol vehicle?
Yes, I was.
Was there any damage done to the patrol vehicle?
No, ma'am.
Did all this take place in Clayton County?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I have no further questions. Judge, you're muted.
Attorney Rogers, your witness.
Thank you. You said it's Corporal Lamb, is that what you said?
Yes.
Corporal Lamb, are you the lead officer on this case?
Yes.
And at this point, have you had a chance to review any relevant evidence that you're aware of as far as body cam, statements, things like that?
Yes.
And when you initially arrived at the location, correct me if I'm wrong, but the first sight you observed of Mr. Lovingood is that you said he's throwing an item on the ground in
Yes.
the residence. Do you know at the time, whose item that is or whose property that is?
It was in the living room, so it was a common area that I'm pretty sure that it was shared property.
Okay. And I'll ask the question again because I'm not sure if you heard it correctly. I asked, do you know whose property that was that he was allegedly damaging at the time?
Not initially, no.
And if I'm not, and I'm basing this on your report, so if I misunderstood, just let me know. I think you made contact with, looks like Miss Patterson?
Yes.
If not you specifically, but law enforcement talks to Miss Patterson?
Yeah, I talked to Miss Patterson.
Okay. And at that point, that's how officers gain access? Is that how you all gain access to the location?
Yes, she opened up the door for Corporal Williams once he knocked on the door upon our arrival.
And before you all engage with Mr. Lovingood, do you have any kind of conversation with with Miss Patterson?
We attempted, but Mr. Lovingood was very loud and irate, and then I could hear some more furniture being tossed around and pushed around. So in order to gain control so we can continue our investigation, that's why we went to make contact with him to de-escalate. But at that point, it was beyond our control.
And when you all, and this happens at approximately, I think it's dark when you all arrive, approximately 11 p.m. Is that correct?
Correct.
As far as the location itself, when you arrive, is there, I'm assuming and correct me again if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming if you're able to observe him from outside, there's at least some light in the room where you're seeing him at, is that correct?
Yes, it was lighting in the living room.
And so when you all first make contact with him, Mr. Lovingood, that is, where is Mr. Lovingood in the residence?
When we first made contact with him, he moved from the living room towards the corner right where it joins up to the kitchen.
And does anybody, when officers enter the location, does anybody announce that they're police or anything like that?
He observed, from my knowledge, he observed his stepsister opening the front door where Corporal Williams was at and announcing himself that we were on scene.
Okay. So I just want to make sure I'm clear on exactly what's being said. Are you saying that Corporal Williams announced himself as policeman upon entering?
Yes, because the sister and him was right in the doorway, could see the door when the door was open. And he was in full uniform, as I am in now.
And when you say in full uniform, I know we can't see. I know y'all have different names.
We have a hat that says Clayton County Police Department. Our vest has police on it with a badge on the front where you can see us. And our sleeves also has the emblem, including our rank.
So once you all make contact with Mr. Lovingood, if I understand correctly, what is he? Well, let me ask you this: what's the first physical contact between Mr. Lovingood and the law enforcement officer? Which officer is that? Number one.
That's me.
Okay. And what is that contact?
Grabbed him with soft hands to bring him down to the ground, because prior to that, I had told him to calm down, relax.
And I know you on direct, you said that everything's on video, but I want to be as clear as possible. When we talk about everything being on video, we're talking about from the time that you all enter the residence. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes. Actually, our video started prior to our arrival into the house. So you'll see on Corporal Williams, as he walked up to the door, And on mine's from exiting my vehicle to the back of the residence, where you could actually see him throwing the property down on the ground. And you can see himself and the sister in the living room area, where you would see that they have direct eyesight to the front door.
Okay. And just to make sure, you're saying that what you just described is depicted on the body camera video?
Yes.
And I know it might not to be redundant, but I want to be very clear. The part where you're saying that he's damaging the property, that part, you're saying that is captured on the video?
Yes. After everything calmed down, I was able to take pictures with my body camera to show all the damage in the residence.
Let's see. I think that may be the extent of my question, but if I got one moment, Sean.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to ask about the discussion regarding the taser, the alleged grabbing of the taser. As it relates to that part, I know you said on the video that you can hear, I believe, one of the Corporal Williams saying that he has a grip. Can you see that on the video? Have you seen it on
You
any
should
video?
be able to see it from his video. Literally, soon as he had grabbed a hold of the taser, I could hear Corporal Williams verbalize, "He has my taser." I could hear that the taser trigger was pulled because you can hear the popping for the electricity and the countdown. And
So,
go ahead.
Well, no. Well, I was just going to make sure because I thought what you said was it should be, but I want to be very clear. To your knowledge, have you seen the actual grabbing of the taser on any video?
On Corporal Williams' video, no. I looked at my video when I reviewed everything, and I could hear him say it. They were off to my side, just out of view, but I could see Corporal Williams with my visual actually, and I remember him reaching for it and snatching it back, and you can hear him say, "I got it back."
Okay. And now let me ask about that part. You're saying you saw Corporal Williams and Mr.
Reaching
Lovingood?
for Mr. Lovingood's hand with the taser.
Okay, so you're saying you personally saw the taser and Mr. Lovingood's hand?
Yes.
And as far as the discussion about the items that were damaged, I guess number one, who tells you about the mother discusses items and I believe you said the stepsister, is that who Ms. Patterson is? So do they identify like whose items or what or
the mother said about her television, the sister said about her television, the shower rod, which was clearly her room, and then all the items in the living room, which is shared property, that he still doesn't have permission because he moved in with the mother. The mother.
I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to cut you off. You can go ahead. What I was going to ask is just when you're saying that it's shared property, I just want to make sure I'm clear on, again, the source of that information. Are you saying, who's saying that it's shared property?
That is the sister.
Did she live there first? Do you know, prior to?
I'm not sure. I didn't ask.
No further questions at this time.
Okay, 88 from, do you have any redirect?
No, Your Honor, the state rests.
Okay, Attorney Raj, do you have any witnesses?
No, ma'am. Possibly argument if I need a moment to look at the charges again.
Okay. 88 Freeman, we ready for closing?
Yes, Your Honor, the state waives opening.
Okay, Attorney Rogers. You said you need a minute?
Yes, but I just want to look at the charges just to
Okay.
compare what's alleged versus what was testified to. Yeah, and I guess I do have some argument. Some of it may be kind of a point of, I guess, clarification kind of thing. There seems to be one charge that says, at least the way it's listed on the calendar that I'm looking at, it says battery, multiple battery against the same victim. So I'm not sure if that's what is intended to be alleged there or not. But I haven't heard of more than one observable injury against the same victim, so I would be moving to dismiss that one. Additionally, that was the one that I'm showing, this 2022 WA 17750. Additionally, I noticed that there are, by my count, 1, 2, 3, 4, looks like 5 charges of obstruction, but if I'm not mistaken, I recall hearing identification of 2 officers by name, possibly 3, but I know Lamb and Williams are the 2 main names that I was hearing. So to the extent that there's more obstructions than officers, I would ask that those be dismissed for lack of probable cause. I'll submit on the rest.
Judge, regarding the
Can you
multiple,
address that in your closing?
yes, Judge, regarding the multiple counts of obstruction of an officer, I don't think it has to be that number of individual officers, but that's regarding the different times that Mr. Lovingood obstructed the officer. We heard the testimony from Corporal Lamb of the numerous times, the issues they had with Mr. Lovingood, with him throwing the items at he and Corporal Williams, the fighting that occurred between them. They had to tase Mr. Lovingood several times, and they had to call for additional officers, and they finally were able to get Mr. Lovingood in handcuffs. So I think when you look at the totality of everything that happened, I think all of that supports the many charges for obstruction of an officer. And when we look at let's see, which warrant was it for the battery? That was, let me see, 750. Let me just check. And so with 750, Judge, I think that charge on the calendar is incorrect. If you look at the WAA, it's just battery to a peace officer. And so I believe that's one of those that, for whatever reason, the clerk's office put that on there, but the WAA has battery of a peace officer. But again, given the testimony of Officer Lamb, there were multiple instances where this defendant, like I said, he threw pieces of furniture. He grabbed a taser. A fight ensued between Mr. Lovingood and the officers. And so I believe with everything that was testified to, that the state has met its burden of probable cause for all of these charges. And we are asking that you bind all of these charges over to Superior Court.
Okay, thank you. Based upon the evidence presented to the court today, I do find sufficient probable cause to bind over all, I believe it's 12 charges to Superior Court of Clayton County. And for a point of a clarification for the record, warrant number 2022WA17750. That is a charge of just a battery to a peace officer. It was it's incorrectly identified on the calendar as well. But on the actual warrant, it is battery of a peace officer. So that would also be bound over to Superior Court. That is the order of the court today. That will conclude the preliminary hearing for Mr. Lovingood. I want to thank Attorney Rogers for his presentation of the case, as well as ADA Freeman. Thank you.